to Grant and Grace. You're with Mike and Charles. This is part 5 of a series of unknown number, and we are talking about getting out of a business funk. And the conversation has organically grown to discussing business coaching as a form of getting out of business funk and growing your business. The previous episode we discussed about Tony Robbins, and now we're going to discuss multiple coaches that Charles has used because he went to multiple coaches simultaneously. And so we're going to discuss what that experience was, what he recommended, etc. So Charles, if you could touch base, what made you go through all of these coaches all at the same time and throw some names out there and like why you went into them. Just give us a scoop.
It's a great question, Mike. So I say why I did it all at the same time. So it's 2022. I probably did at least 5 to potentially 6 coaches. First coach of the year was Tony Robbins. There was a conference I attended in January. So I did that program. Then the next was a 10X conference. Tax client actually got me into the 10X community. Went there.
So that's Grant Cardone, right?
That's Grant Cardone. And so became a part of that. Grant Cardone's program led me to another program that helps you get your stage presence going. And that's Pete Vargas. He teaches you how to grow your audience using other people's stages. Then next, I went to that program. And then shortly after was one more with Cardone Ventures, which is a part of Brandon Dawson's program. Grant Cardone's program. And so that was with Brandon Dawson, very powerful. And then from there, I ended up doing, that was all that year. But then, since then, I've progressed and done a few others like Myron Golden and a few other names. This
Russell
one person,
Brunson.
Russell Brunson. Yeah. With ClickFunnels.
Yeah. So that is a lot going on. What made you do all of those at the same time? Because, I just considered you a program addict, but it kind of seems like you're a course junkie.
And so I actually don't call myself any of those terms. However, I can see how people can say things like that because they see you going after your next fix, probably. But in reality, you're hoping for a solution. And the biggest thing I learned, I spent over $1 million on courses just in the last 4 years alone. And the biggest thing is I was trying to fill a void. Like if I'm trying to get success or if I'm trying to get, that's the biggest thing I'd say. Success is different to each one of us. And I'm trying to hit my definition of success, but I wasn't able to hit it yet. And I think I was still searching. So, for example, if I'm on fire and, you're in a lot of pain when you're on fire, you're wondering like, okay, well, how do I put this fire out, right? Like, do I stop, drop, and roll? Is it, do I run really fast? Do I jump in the water? And if you don't feel that any of these is quenching the fire yet, you're still going to keep searching. Like, okay, well, maybe I need this, maybe I need that. And some of these courses seem complementary, and many of them will be. It's like, hey, first get your mindset, then get your 10x mindset, then get your, now you're going to need the program, now you're going to need the processes, now you're going to need the, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's ultimately why I ended up doing these in such a short period of time. I was just trying to find the answer.
Yeah. So I know that was very specific to you. And so, like, by doing that, was it worth it? And would you do it again knowing what you know now?
No. Yes. Yes, it was worth it. No, I wouldn't do it again.
Okay.
The first question I answered was the last question you asked. So, was it worth it? The network, the processes, the mindset shift? that was powerful. Proximity really is power. And when you grow up in the hood, you end up adopting a hood mentality, and you end up getting involved in gangs, drugs, violence, just because we are products of our environment. You change your environment, you change your results. So if you're able to be in a community where people think different, they're willing to try different things, they're motivated at a different level, you do become better yourself.
Now, I mean, you just made a statement that I can't completely agree with it
Sure, go for it.
because you did grow up in the hood
I did.
and you never were a product of your environment. So, you know,
Well, I was in a sense because within that environment, our home environment was that built on like spiritual principles. And I was blessed enough to have my dad in the house too. And so a lot of people in the hood, they don't have a dad, so their father figure is an older member in the neighborhood that is like, not always, of course not, this is not every person in the hood, but for the most part, if you get involved, your big brother or your father figure is somebody who's involved in different activities, well then, you're going to be following those activities too.
yeah, potentially. Yeah, and I wasn't completely taking it away, but like it just like I needed more clarity on that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't become my environment either, but I became the opposite of my environment because I deeply did not want it that badly that I wanted to oppose it.
Right. But why didn't you want it? Like, how did you know to oppose it? What planted that seed?
Like my dad was alcoholic, and so that environment of alcoholism,
Mm.
abuse, etc. Uh, nothing positive to emulate. So for a long point in time, I associated it with alcohol. So I would never touch it, like just because it was the deep disdain for it, and I had to grow up mentally to say that it wasn't defining in its own. To say that if I were to take a drink, that it now defines me and I'm like my father or anything like that. So it was just growing past that.
Mm.
So, but just getting back to coaching, because
So that's good. That's a good detour. Go ahead.
that's what the episode is about. So you wouldn't do it again, uh, if I understand correctly, with the knowledge that you have now. If you
So,
if you already knew that you couldn't get the gains from it now because of the directions weren't defined, etc., you said you wouldn't do it again.
and when I say that, I don't mean I wouldn't do any of it again. I just mean I wouldn't do all of it again. There were certain parts I would do and certain parts I wouldn't do based on where I was at that time. For example, the mindset, I did need that. But what I got even more out of Tony Robbins' program, if I came with an operating business at that time, I definitely believe so. Actually, all of the programs I would have gotten more out of if I just needed to tweak a few things. But I was like, so it's kind of like if your car is in need of repair, just needs a transmission, or just needs a tire changed, or something like that, you can go in the shop and get back out relatively quick and then get progress. But if it's broken down pretty majorly, now I'll say, something you need engine work, or you need a rewiring of all your systems because squirrels chewed up your. Uh, Sorry about that. If you use something,
You can't just kick our equipment.
but yeah, so if it's something major, it's going to take a lot longer to fix, and it'd be a lot more expensive to fix too. So that's what I'll say.
So all those coaches, they they based off what I know of them, they all teach a different aspect,
They do.
and all different business sets, business models, etc. Like one is maybe real estate, one is ClickFunnels, One is public speaking, like all different. Like, don't you feel like you're chasing too many rabbits?
That's a great point. So the skill I was trying to build was success in business. And these are seven, 6 to 7 different key areas. But I feel like it's like basketball. And it's like to become a good basketball player, you need good handling. You need good shot. You also need good fundamental knowledge. You need to know how to move. You need to know how to pass. You need to know. So I kind of felt like I was building the skills necessary to become a good player. And I was at a point where I didn't feel like I could only master one skill before going to the next because I didn't feel like I had time for that. But hey, let me get exposure to as much as I can to become the best player I can be.
Uh, I can understand that thought process, but from a sports perspective, since you brought up sports, if I had an athlete that needed help in that many aspects, they would not be my athlete. like you, if you need help in all of the areas, you probably don't need to be an athlete. So, but I already know that doesn't apply to you because uh, you already had success as a business person. You you in two different areas, two complete opposite business you had success in. So do you think that it was just maybe your confidence was shot and you're trying to compensate?
Yeah, I do. My confidence was shot. Was I trying to get it back? Yes. But just like let's bring it back to basketball, the more shots you're making in the game, the better you feel your likelihood of making the next shot is. You keep missing simple shots in the game, you become more and more scared to take shots and you just start passing the ball up. And that's kind of how I felt like I didn't feel I was ready for the ball myself yet.
Yeah, yeah. I completely understand from that aspect of losing your confidence. And I understand why you said you wouldn't make the decision to go through all that coaching again because it is too much. You got inundated with information. It's like having multiple coaches all telling you different things, like shoot the ball, don't shoot the ball, dribble the ball, don't dribble the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's too many concepts, and I remember having just a personal conversation with you a while back. I was like, dude, man, I said you got to just you have to find or develop a singular philosophy and stick with it. Like when I was participating in another business model, uh, one of the people said, "Make a decision and then make that decision right." So like you don't change everything, just fluctuate to make sure that decision becomes the right decision.
Right.
Like be decisive and fix it along the way. So uh, with Grant Cardone, uh, I watched him on that one TV show where like something a billionaire,
Undercover billionaire.
undercover billionaire, and that was very entertaining. It made me build and lose respect for him all in the same time, uh, because he's scrappy. And
Did you see what he did though with nothing?
no, like I said, I saw the whole thing. He's scrappy, and I can appreciate that. Um,
So do we need to be scrappy as business owners?
Not
Or what did
necessarily.
you get out of that?
There was some professional aspects that I didn't agree with, or I wouldn't condone.
Like what?
It was the I don't want to talk bad about anybody. Definitely without them having the ability to defend themselves.
Sure.
So I'm not. When you say like what now, I got to get specific to point out something.
Or even a principle. What principles weren't in alignment with?
Misleading people. it it went beyond the principle that I use. Sometimes you got to fake it until you make it, and unfortunately, we don't have time to go into that because we already reached the end of our segment.
Oh, that's how we're gonna do you this time. Sorry about that. Dang.
So I don't know what part six is going to be called, but we'll continue the conversation on the next episode. And we appreciate you for joining us. For come back to the next episode, part six, grind and grace. Topic to be defined.